Our story occurs over 3 summers in fictional Macomb County, Alabama, modeled after Harper Lee's own hometown. The narrator of our story is Jean Louise or Scout Finch, who lives with her brother Jem, her father Atticus, and their black maid Calpurnia. Atticus Finch is extremely moral and liberal for the time, believing in fair justice regardless of race. Atticus has inspired many careers in law since the publication of the novel due to his sheer morality, which has likewise made him define a great parent. Meanwhile, the children are both extremely fascinated by and afraid of their reclusive neighbor Arthur Boo Radley. Boo remains an enigma throughout the majority of the novel, not appearing until the very climax, but I won't spoil that for you. In the main event of the novel, Atticus Finch is called upon to defend Tom Robinson in court. Tom Robinson is a black man accused of raping and beating a white woman, Mayella Ewell. Atticus agreeing to defend him makes him extremely unpopular in the community. The very thought of him, a white man, defending a black man makes him seem empathetic to Negroes. Scout, however, defends her father's pride by fighting boys at school who accuse Atticus of being empathetic to Negroes, but Atticus forbids her from fighting. On the day of the trial, the prosecutor delivers an insubstantial case, whereas Atticus makes it clear that Mayella and her father, Bob Ewell, the really creepy town drunk, are lying outright. Not only is Tom Robinson physically incapable of beating Mayella Ewell, but the fact of the matter is that Mayella Ewell was the one who made sexual advances towards Tom, and that her father beat her. Mayella screams that the men of the jury will not be men unless they believe her lies, perhaps insisting that their man cards will be revoked if they refuse the word of a white woman. But guys, she ain't even pretty. The prosecutor then questions Tom, showing no regard for him as a human being, causing the children to become very upset. Later on, the bigotry of the community is exposed, as regardless of the truth that Atticus demonstrated, Tom Robinson is convicted and a few days later is shot and killed while trying to escape from prison. This of course causes Atticus and his children to question their faith in justice. Meanwhile, Bob Ewell is extremely insulted by Atticus's actions and vows revenge. In the climax of the novel, he attacks Scout and Jem while they are walking to school at night. Don't worry, they turn out just fine. But I won't spoil the details. Read it yourself. Despite Macomb being a fictional town, it is extremely accurate in regard to the setting of the novel, being modeled after Harper Lee's own hometown of Monroeville. The story is autobiographical in many ways, despite Harper denying this to an extent or another. Scout was modeled after Harper herself as a child, with a Boo Radley-ish character living just down her street. Lee stated that Dill was modeled after childhood friend Truman Capote, who ironically enough went on to become another great writer. Harper furthermore described her father, nicknamed A.C., as one of the few men she has known who has genuine humility. Atticus was modeled after him.
Scout, you know what a compromise is?
Been in the law?
No. It's an agreement reached by mutual consent. Now, here's the way it works. You concede the necessity of going to school. We'll keep right on reading the same every night.
To Kill a Mockingbird accurately portrays the segregated culture of the South during the Great Depression. Extreme racism and poverty in great and equal measure characterize the era. As the novel's action takes place prior to the passing of the Brown v. Board of Education decision, Jim Crow laws are in full effect. The lives of blacks were separated completely from those of whites, attending different churches, speaking differently, and even sitting in a different area in court. At one point, Scott shames a group of people ready to lynch Tom Robinson by speaking about entailments, illustrating the desperation of Southerners at the time. Furthermore, the thought of a white man defending a black man was despicable, resulting in Bob Ewell's reaction to Atticus defending Tom.
Somebody told me just now that they thought that you believed Tom Robinson's story again, Iron. You know what I said? I said you wrong, man. You dead wrong. Miss Finch ain't taking this story against Iron. Well, they was wrong, wasn't it?
I've been appointed to defend Tom Robinson. Now that he's been charged, that's what I intend to do.
You taking his
You'll
story?
excuse me, Mr. Ewell.
What kind of man are you?
The factuality of the court scene is called into question only by the fact that there may well not have been a trial in real life. However, the discrepancy between justice that should have been rendered and the reality as it was rendered due simply to prejudice is purely factual. It was a social norm at this time that the word of a white woman was greater than that of a black man. This of course calls into question the same quandary Atticus faced upon Tom's conviction. How relevant now is the truth?
The defendant is not guilty. But somebody in this courtroom is. Now, gentlemen, in this country, our courts are the great levelers. In our courts, all men are created equal. I'm no idealist to believe firmly in the integrity of our courts and of our jury system. That's no ideal to me. That is a living, working reality.
It is easy to dismiss this as some kind of dramatic irony, but that could not be further from the truth. In 1931, a stone fight was initiated between white and black youths hoboing aboard a train. After being beaten, the white youths reported the blacks. 2 white girls reported that 6 of the 9 black youths had raped them at gunpoint. All 9 blacks were arrested and put on trial, though their defense refused to cross-examine the doctors who possessed all medical evidence. The youths were convicted with all circumstantial evidence, and were not acquitted until 1939. In perhaps the greatest travesty in American law, a 14-year-old by the name of Emmett Till was murdered in Mississippi after being accused of making sexual advances towards a white woman. The truth was that he had called her baby as a dare by his friends. The woman's husband found him and dragged him out of his great-uncle's house. His body was found 3 days later, disfigured beyond recognition. During the trial, despite his great-uncle's testimony, the all-white jury, stating that the state had failed to determine the identity of the body, acquitted the men implicated. On a much lighter note, Harper Lee wrote To Kill a Mockingbird as a simple love story between father and children, and about the fact of the human compassion that is always the most courageous act of all. To Kill a Mockingbird, though being very much historically accurate, is still a fiction, and is a tale of, as Atticus Finch says, learning that you never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb inside of his skin and walk around in it. Atticus explains that courage is not a man with a gun in hand. Courage is when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway and see it through no matter what. The people are not intrinsically bad, but are in fact quite nice when you finally do see them. That is a sin to kill a mockingbird, for all they do is innocently make music for others to enjoy. And that the one thing, and sometimes the only thing, that does not abide by majority rule is a person's conscience. These are not so much facts of history as facts of life. Harper Lee's reality of the novel is one of resolution, of human decency and compassion surviving, despite the bigotry innate in its environment. In some way, To Kill a Mockingbird is not so different from Atticus Finch himself. Jem lay in bed, injured at the end of the novel. And if ever you are wounded or broken, it will be there for you the same way that Atticus was for Jem. It will be there with you through the night, and it will be there when you wake up in the morning.